Hello, beloved. You are in rest, aren't you? Hopefully you are following what the Lord is doing with us, for us. It's deep, it's real, and it's something that's supposed to help you, and it does help you. I know that. Everyone is in a different place in their walk with the Lord and their soul. But I want to tell you the most important thing: Christ is in you. He is your life. He is blessing you. He is changing you. He is taking blessings in your soul and it's bringing new life into them. Blessings maybe you inherited from your parents, grandparents. And at the same time, He is pulling out the weeds, the curses, all those things that the horoscope said. Well, you are like that, and yeah, you are inclined to do that, and you are inclined for depression, and you are doing this, and all those curses, all those bad words, patterns. He's breaking them. He's destroying them, because the life of Christ is a life abundant. Doesn't mean that you are not gonna go through the testing, the suffering, and all those things that, Romans 8 talks that in all these things we are more than conquerors. Oh yes, but something that He's forming inside you is so beautiful, so amazing. Going through all those trials and testing and things that the world thinks, got you. That's what the world thinks sometimes. It got you. See the problems that you have there and the things that preoccupy your mind all the time, and the world thinks, oh yeah, I got lots of people with this. I don't think you're gonna escape. And the Lord pulls you through, and you look back, it's like, nah, that's not me. It's the Lord coming through as a warrior, as an overcomer, and that's you. And we keep going in this provision crisis. Because it's so important to know the source, where we're going to take this bread to feed all these people. It's so important to know that it is not you. You're not making it up. You are not doing that miracle. It's coming through you. You are tapped into the source. The source is eternal life. It's God Himself. He is the miracle worker. And you are just pointing it to, directing it in where it should be. And you are in rest. Your soul is in rest. And even more now. So again, John 6, Jesus said, have the people sit down. Yes. Now there was much grass in the place. Men sat down, number of about 5,000. Jesus then took the loaves, having given thanks, He gave them, distributed them to those who were seated. How did He do that? Through the disciples, right? Gave them to the disciples, and disciples took them to the people. Yeah, it was not a magic, let them appear in their hands. No. It went through His hands, and from His hands went through disciples' hands. When do you think the miracle actually happened? Because there were 5 loaves, right? They were not imagining more loaves. There were 5 loaves. That's the real thing. No, 2 fish. That's all it was. And there were 5,000 people there, at least. Right? When did a miracle actually happen? When Jesus broke the bread, like somehow the bread became more, or in the hands of the disciples. And I submit to you that I think it happened in both places. Because everything that God touches multiplies. But at the same time, He makes you a multiplier. So the breaking of the bread, right? There were only 5, there were 12 disciples, right? So even if He breaks it in 2, that's 10 halves, right? There were 12, so had to be more. In their hands, that half of the loaf or whatever piece of the bread, as they were breaking it, they realized it doesn't end. See, the exponential multiplication must have been in the hands of the disciple, because Jesus multiplied from 1 to 12, right? But each of the disciples multiplied from 1 to 100 or few hundreds, right? That's exponential multiplication in their hands. I love it. Oh, it says in the word, 1 will chase 1,000 and 2 10,000. From 1 to 2 is multiplication, but from 1,000 to 10,000 it's exponential growth. Right? Yeah, do the math. That's not double. So it's very important that everything, when He touches that bread, that gives it to you, it's going to multiply, and He's going to multiply in your hands, will continue, will start this river of multiplication. See, He's a river of life. Nothing He touches or you touch will stay the same. Everything He touches then will become the head of the river. He says that, who believes in me, out of his heart will flow rivers. Rivers. Right? He is not just giving you back what you give Him. Right? Here's the 5 loaves. Okay, here's the 5 loaves. No. He gives you a multiplied. Right? Always, because He is life multiplication. That's the nature of God, and that's the nature you are born with. Life-giving spirit, a multipliable, a multiplication, a life multiplication type of spirit. That's who you are. So, think about a seed. So you sow the seed, and then you water and you wait, right? There is a word, I think in Isaiah, is that your seed will grow quickly. Your healing will spread up or spring up quickly. So there is a word that talks about going from the seed to the final product. And yes, the Lord talked about that. When the sower, it's going to catch the reaper. And we say, Giving and receiving is one thing. The sower and the reaper are one. That means from the sowing thing to the producing of the bread, which satisfies the need, it's so quick. The multiplication, it's extremely quick. And that's what he does. And that's what you do. The seed grows quickly. So let's talk about, let's try to imagine what happened with the disciples, okay? So Jesus would give them the bread, so they would take that piece of bread, right? So as they go to the first, let's imagine the first group, right? So here's Andrew, right? And he found the solution, but he takes a piece of bread. He looks at a piece of bread, right? Something happened with that. It was a regular bread, but not quite, right? So he knows the Lord blesses it. So he goes, and you see like 100 people. Just imagine that. So he starts with his family right here. And they are, the husband, the wife, and 2 kids. Here's the bread, right? Do you see that? So he breaks the bread and gives to the first kid. Breaks the bread, another piece, and gives it to the next kid. He breaks it and gives it to the wife, and breaks it and gives it to the man. And he looks. His bread is, the size is not changed. He still has that bread. And he says, there's another family here, just husband and wife, and he takes it and gives to the wife, and takes it, gives to the husband. And he still has that bread. It's like, that is amazing. There is a miracle here. So, do you see what happened? Do you see what those disciples went through? And how they saw the multiplication, the bread that Jesus has touched, that was enough. And when they got to the last person in the last group that they have to feed, they gave the piece of bread, and there was no more bread. Or maybe there was a piece for them to eat. Remember when that oil, I think it was Elijah, and that widow said, hey, go to the neighbors, get vessels and bottles, and let's boil the oil, and then you can sell it. And they pour the oil, and when the last container was filled, there was no more oil to pour. That's interesting. So it's like, it's very interesting. It's somehow need meeting based, right? But that's what happened. Then they went for the fish and they got that. Why is this important? See, if you have 10 people in a fellowship in a church, and there are 5 more people coming, to me that's a quantity growth, but it's not a multiplication. Do you see the difference? It's like I'm going to buy, because I have only 5 loaves, I'm going to buy another 100 loaves so I can feed this group. I have 105 loaves of bread, right? But to me, that's just an addition of the same kind. It's not a multiplication. It's not a real growth. Remember when he says in the book of Acts about how the church was growing? He said the Lord was adding every day to their numbers the ones that were saved. The Lord was adding. That's multiplication. The Lord was adding that. It's not, church transfer, people interested, coming here, there. I mean, it's good. More people to listen to the message and the truth. It's okay. But it's not real multiplication. Do you see the difference? The Lord was adding the ones that were saved. There was really a multiplication. It's an organic growth from inside out, because it starts from one bread. He multiplied from those 5 breads. From each bread, he multiplied from one, which is from him, from the life of the Father. It came in, and everybody ate. Multiplication is an organic growth from one, and the other ones are added because they are part of one. They are not added to the one, but they are added because they are part of one. That's multiplication. It's part of the same bread. Do you see that? You can hear this, and you are a multiplication of the life of God that came through this vessel, because you are part of the same bread. You are part of one. In His hands, anything, even if it seems not important, is destined to grow according to the desire. It takes that shape because it comes from inside out. That's how the baby grows in the belly. And then all the members, everything grows into a body. It's one body. And that's how the growth happens. Multiplication. So awesome. Blessing you.